What's up guys, welcome back to Lexalexus. We're carrying on with our score predictions. We made it to week 7. As always guys, I always love to hear your contributions to the score predictions by you guys leaving your score predictions in the comments down below of this video. I'm always interested to hear your thoughts as well. And let me know of your thoughts of the previous results that have taken place as well. I did not do a great job in my score predictions last week, to tell you the truth, so my aim is to do a lot better this week than I did from last week, so I've got a lot to pick up on here. The subscriber getting the shout out today is Letha Manbane. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. If you do hit that subscribe button, it is likely your name will be read out and shouted out in the next video. If you guys like what you see, please smash the like button as well. It really does help the growth of this channel. If we can go for 40 likes today, that'll be absolutely amazing, and please share the channel too. All of that really helps. But without any further ado, let's start predicting week 7. First up, we start off with a bit of a local derby. West Brom going up against Leicester. This is a game that's taking place in the evening kickoff tomorrow. In terms of these results, West Brom will be wanting to pick themselves up. They had a tough game against Middlesbrough. They narrowly lost that by 2-1. Did have the chances, West Brom, to get a better result out of it. But what we saw there was a classic example of Middlesbrough just being so clinical going forward, and West Brom, unfortunately, whilst they were quite wasteful going forward, they just did not have the chances to win the game into their favour. Leicester certainly are going to want to have a bigger response. Their game actually ended 0-0 against Coventry, but albeit it was actually one of the more entertaining 0-0 draws I've seen. Especially for Leicester's point of view, they'll be wondering with some of the saves that Carl Rushworth was making in goal. He had a brilliant performance in the Coventry net, and Leicester could have walked away with at least one, if not two, really big chances in that game. But they are currently in the top 6. They're definitely the best performing side out of the 3 relegated teams from the Premier League last season so far. I think this game is close though. West Brom at home at the Hawthorns have been relatively strong. The only team that has been able to take points from the Hawthorn this season has been Derby County, their last home game. And puzzling performance, Derby sat back and really soaked up the pressure and actually were very clinical. Leicester, of course, can be clinical. We've seen how well they've been doing in terms of the amount of goals they've been scoring so far this season. But I don't see Leicester as a team that's going to allow West Brom to have the ball and sit back. And what that will mean is that I think West Brom will find more ample time and opportunity to exploit the spaces that could uncover from that Leicester defence. So as a prediction, I suspect both teams will be able to score in this game, but I can't edge one of them. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this game actually. I see this game being very close, and I'm going to sit on the fence and go for a draw. Next up, a bit of a local derby again. We've got Coventry going up against Birmingham. I already spoke about Coventry against Leicester, and I am making it sound like Coventry were the side that were more likely going to concede, but Coventry themselves had some really good passages of play, and they themselves could have scored at least one big chance that they had against Leicester as well. So I think the reason why that game was actually really good despite it ending 0-0 is that both sides had real moments going forward where I thought, wow, they look really good going forward at this moment of time. And I think at the CBS, they have been really consistent so far, Coventry. Against the Birmingham side, where away from home, I haven't been too impressed. And Birmingham are in a large cluster of teams that is a very changed squad from what they had from last season, and naturally it will take time for them to click. But it means for other teams that are a bit more used to each other and more established, this is going to be the best time you're going to want to play these sides, since they are still not going to be quite at full strength yet. And I think certainly you go to the second half of the season, I think there will come a time where those sides will get used to each other and they will start playing really well. So I think Birmingham can be got at this moment. In terms of their away games, they've actually only scored in one of their away championship games so far, which was involving their 2-1 late victory against Blackburn. I think they drew blank in their other 2 away games. Now, Obviously, they won last game at St Andrews, very late goal from Lyndon Dykes. So Birmingham have already been involved in pretty late drama most of their games, for positive and for negatives as well. Do I see late drama here? Potentially. But the thing is with Coventry, I've just been so impressed in terms of their attack. I do think they can get a goal in this game because of Birmingham not being so strong on the road. And I think with them missing loads of chances recently, I could see this one being another frustrating one where Birmingham are on the cusp of something, but not quite there yet to get a result in the line that maybe they deserve. I'm going to go for a 1-0 victory to Coventry, which will mean that Coventry stay unbeaten by this point of the season, and it will certainly put Coventry in the top 6 picture after this game week. Another one of the half-12 Saturday games sees Swansea going up against Millwall. This is a real mid-table battle. It is 10th versus 11th place in the table so far. I've been very impressed with Swansea in terms of their cup run. They've done really, really well to get to the last 16 teams of that competition. And similarly with their league form, they have been on the whole positive. Now, their last home game was actually a little bit of a disappointing result to get a 2-2 draw against Hull City, considering in that game they did actually lead in that game too, I believe. So they'll be wanting to right the wrongs they made in that game by getting a good result. But they're facing a Millwall side where right now I think it's very difficult to back against them on the road. They've won 2 of their last 3 away games in the Championship, and they drew their last one against Charlton, where that game ended by 1 goal each. Not a vintage performance, but it was a good enough performance for them to get a point, and probably helped by the fact that Charlton were down to 10 men, I would say. But either way, Alex Neil and Millwall did find a way around it. This game to me screams of a draw. Swansea drew their last home game. I certainly say going forward, I am quite excited to see the form of Vipotnik at the moment. He was involved in the goals against Nottingham Forest in the Carabao Cup quite recently. So I see him in a lot of confidence at the moment. But I think Millwall will find a way to turn this game into their favour. I'm going to go for 1-1 draw. Again, I'm kind of sitting on the fence. I'm a little bit undecided, so I will compromise here and go for a draw. Let me know what you think though in the comments. The last one of the half-12 Saturday games is Wrexham. They face Derby. Wrexham are also through to the last 16. They've actually got to face another Welsh side in Cardiff City. That is going to be an interesting game, and quite big for Wales that at least one Welsh club will make it through to the last 8. That'll be the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup as well. So a big moment for one of those clubs. But Wrexham, they're going into this game in good spirits because that's actually 2 wins in a row in all competitions, because they won their last Championship game as well, which was a bonkers game at Carrow Road. They managed to beat Norwich. I did not think that Norwich would be as bad defensively as they are, and I am going to allude to that when I predict them soon. But all credit does go to Wrexham. They dug in there, some brilliant quality from Josh Windass for Wrexham's second goal as well. So I'm seeing the forward lines now starting to click for Wrexham, which is exciting me. But they're facing a Derby side who are tricky customers, but Derby need to really bounce back. They had a really poor result last time around in the Championship against Preston. It is one of their home performances where they're not really going to feel proud of at all. Alfie Devine with the only goal in that game from Preston's point of view. And I think the frustrating part for Derby is that whilst they are getting players to return, a lot of these players would not have had a good fresh run of games because of them being injured and out in the sidelines. So I think Derby's going to be another team where a couple of games pass by where we eventually start seeing the full potential of this Derby side. Prediction here is so hard. Now, Wrexham at the racecourse, they have not won at home so far. They have scored plenty of goals. I'll give them that. They've scored plenty of goals in the racecourse, but they've not won a single game. In fact, I think they've only picked up 1 point, which was against Sheffield Wednesday as well. I think Derby do have the potential to get something here if they play anything like they did against Ipswich, where they sort of part 10 men behind the ball, absorb the pressure, and Wrexham do like to hold on to the ball at home, Wrexham can be punished because they have looked quite vulnerable, conceding goals and chances from the counter-attack, and I think Derby could do that to them here quite effectively. They've already caused chaos for sides expecting to pick up results against them already this season. They've picked up some great points, Derby, so far. I'm actually going to go, maybe controversial as it sounds, a 2-1 away victory to Derby. I just have a funny feeling that things are not quite clicking at home currently for Wrexham, and Derby, with the way that I've seen them play away from home, I think the way that Wrexham play could play into their own hands, and I think Derby could get a result. Let me know what you think in the comments. We now make it to the 3 o'clock kickoffs. We've got Charlton against Blackburn. Now, this is a tough one. Charlton, of course, picked up a clean sheet and their first win since game week 1 against Sheffield United. It was a last minute goal, like a 90th minute goal from Olaofe. I mean, brilliant moment for Charlton and Nathan Jones. Unbelievable passion from him, as we always see when Charlton do pick up some great wins and performances, which you haven't seen too much of this season. They're back at the Valley, which I'd say standard of performances have been so much better at the Valley. And in fact, I think they've only lost one home game so far this season as well, which was against Leicester, which was a narrow 1-0 defeat. And they were unlucky not to get anything from that game either. Tough one for Blackburn this, and they're in a really tough situation. Obviously, they had the game that never happened against Ipswich. They were 1-0 up last 80 minutes. The game got cancelled due to the pitch being waterlogged. It was absolutely chucking it down in all for Lancashire grounds, but Ewood Park, for some bizarre reason, just had it even worse. And I mean, I've seen games being played on in those terrible conditions. They shouldn't be, but I have seen it before. I think a Plymouth game actually happened with similar conditions, which they played on for a little bit as well, which I was surprised where they did. But yeah, this is a tough situation for Blackburn and Ipswich. Whichever outcome EFL decides to do, one team's going to feel hard done by. I think Blackburn want the 3 points, which I can get. But the suggestion from Ishmael for Ipswich to go all the way to Ewood Park to play the last 10 minutes, I think is taking the mickey a little bit. You're not going to expect Ipswich to travel that length of England to go to that ground and just to play 10 minutes of the game. If they're going back to Blackburn, they're going to want to play a full 90-minute game. So it's a really tough one, honestly. And then you can get that, if they get the full 90, then Ipswich will be certainly given the benefit there with the higher squad depth. So it's just a real tough one. I really want to be in the EFL's position for this because I know I'm going to upset a major club in this. But going to the actual performance, Blackburn have been keeping clean sheets. They've been doing really, really well defensively. I wouldn't say they're scoring many goals. Like, Blackburn got their only goal against Ipswich in the end, which didn't happen due to a penalty decision. So from open play, I still think Blackburn are a little bit blunt. And Charlton have not been scoring many goals themselves, but I do think at the Valley, I think they are going to be the favourites. Prediction, very low scoring, but I'm going to go for a 1-0 victory to Charlton. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a close one, but I think, just have a gut instinct that they might be able to edge it. It feels like whoever gets the first goal will win this game. And for me, I see Charlton more likely going to be the team that's going to do that. Next game to predict is Ipswich versus Portsmouth. So I spoke a bit about Ipswich already. Very, very lucky not to, get a defeat on their hands. I mean, away from home, Ipswich have just not been good enough. They've not set up in the right way whatsoever. At Portsmouth Road, though, they have been scoring a little bit more frequently, managing to get 2 goals past Derby, and of course 5 recently against Sheffield United as well. So I do think it could be a good opportunity for Ipswich to try and bounce back from, I'd say, quite fortunate that it didn't result in 0 points with that game. It could end up as 0 points depending what happens with the EFL at the moment, but at this moment they need to show more. I've been so underwhelmed with Ipswich so far this season, but it's one thing I am trying to remember. It is a very new team. Lots of big characters and personalities leaving the club, which are going to be close to impossible to replace. You could see the likes of Connor Chaplin, for instance, getting the bragging rights for Portsmouth against his former club here. Portsmouth themselves are in a bit of a sticky situation. They've got injuries to Schmidt. I think Shungonosi also picked up an injury quite recently as well. Murphy is a doubt as well. So those are key first team players that may not feature for Portsmouth. So Ipswich might find themselves a little bit lucky that they're playing against Portsmouth at this time of the season, because Portsmouth have picked up some decent points at the start of the season. But as a prediction, I think with home advantage and just greater depth, I might back Ipswich here. Now, when I backed them last time, no game actually happened. I'm going to back Ipswich and they're going to eventually go into win a game. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Ipswich, begrudgingly. I just think with the situations of both of these clubs, I think Ipswich walk in as the slight favourites. Now we have a huge game at the bottom of the table. It is Oxford against Sheffield United. And I've got to say, one gave me such optimism, one has given me such pessimism. So Oxford, what an outstanding performance against Bristol City. They suffered their first defeat of the season, Bristol City, due to the brilliance of Oxford, who led for most of that game and absolutely tactically got it spot on against this Bristol City side. Now, ultimately, Bristol City weren't good enough. I am going to make that clear. But brilliant moments of quality. I was so impressed with Placheta. Predek was very patient. He managed to get his goal in the end. And I've got to say, De Keersmaker as well has been a huge revelation to that squad since returning from injury at the start of the season as well. So I am really excited to see the influence he will be able to bring to this Oxford side against the Sheffield United side, who right now, I don't know what to predict. Now, Chris Wilder will have an entire week to work with his squad in preparation for this game. But I'll remind him, last time Chris Wilder faced against Gary Rowett as Sheffield United boss, Oxford won by 1-0. Can history repeat itself? The form books would tell you yes, but at this moment, I'm just stubborn. I'm stubborn thinking that there has to be some form of reaction to Sheffield United here. Now, I am not by any means giving them 3 points at this time. I've nowhere near seen enough quality going forward that's going to allow me to believe that Sheffield United can win games in the moment. But I surely should think at the moment that against an Oxford side where they have drawn their last 2 home games, and Oxford have played well at home, but again, I think with Chris Wilder now having a full week, I do think it does make Sheffield United a bit more threatening. I'm going to be very stubborn about this, and I'm actually going to go for a 1-1 draw rather than an Oxford win. I just have a feeling that we will start seeing some improvements there. I don't think we saw many improvements against Charlton, but my thought process is with an entire week with Chris Wilder now, I'm now thinking this is going to be the game where we start seeing mini gains in their performance, where eventually things will start to click for them. Next up is Preston versus Bristol City. Both sides really outperforming their expectations, both in teams in the top 6 in the moment, but both with very different results. Preston managed to pick up their first away win of the season, beating Derby County by 1-0. What a signing Alfie Devine is looking like for Preston at this moment. He is just adding another creativeness for Preston's attacking line, which a lot of us were saying at the start of the season was looking very, very limited. But now Preston have got an abundance of opportunities and options going forward, which does excite me. Bristol City drew an immediate blank against Oxford. I think one player that can hold his head up high was Mehmeti. He scored a well-taken goal. But I was very disappointed with the likes of Reece Jacobson, who was very, very isolated, barely got into the game whatsoever. And defensively, I was not too impressed with Bristol City either. Going into this game, this is really tough because Preston at home have been pretty much faultless. They have taken points against teams who have been predicted to do really, really well in this season, against the likes of Ipswich and Leicester. So I do think it's tough not to back them here, but Bristol City have just found a way to get some positive results there. I'm thinking draw, but I'm changing my mind last minute. I actually think Emil Rees could score the first goal, but I think Preston will complete the comeback. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Preston. It would have been 2-2, but I'm going to subtract 1 goal from Bristol City, with the simple reason being I just think Preston at home have proven to be really, really strong. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Sheffield Wednesday versus Queen's Park Rangers. Now, before I do actually predict this game, I will have to say this. I am very sorry to Sheffield Wednesday. What an outstanding characteristic win last time around against Portsmouth. Yes, I spoke about the vulnerabilities of Portsmouth's squad depth. But this is a Sheffield Wednesday side who are having problems with squad all season. To go away from home at Fratton Park, one of the most intimidating stadiums in the Championship, to pick up a clean sheet and to win by 2 clear goals, that is absolutely amazing. And just Barry Bannon showing the Championship again that even at his age can still produce moments of magic. Absolutely sensational performance from him. However, Queen's Park Rangers themselves are on a really good run of form. Since losing 7-1 to Coventry, they have not lost a game since. In fact, they've won every single game since. They picked up a win against an in-form Stoke City as well. A really well taken goal in the end, just inside of the penalty box, right in the top corner. Even a shot that Johansson couldn't make a save to. So I do think the attacking line for Queen's Park Rangers is just going to be too deadly for Sheffield Wednesday to deal with. Maybe we could see a brave performance and something gets achieved there, but I've just not seen enough from Sheffield Wednesday, especially from Hillsborough's point of view. There could be another protest going on there, so it just feels like at the moment it's going to feel a bit of a toxic place for Sheffield Wednesday until a change of ownership ensues. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 3-0 away victory to Queen's Park Rangers. It really could be any scoreline, but I'm just liking the fact that Queen's Park Rangers are playing really well in the moment, and I think they will carry that on into this game. Next up is Southampton versus Middlesbrough. Now, I would arguably say it is the most underperforming Championship team against the most overperforming Championship team going head to head. This is quite an interesting contest. Southampton have only won 1 game so far in the season against newly promoted Wrexham. Middlesbrough have been near perfect, still unbeaten. 5 wins out of their last 6 Championship games is an unbelievable record. Now, I don't think they were amazing in their last couple of performances, especially their most recent one against West Brom. But one thing that really impressed me from Middlesbrough was the first half, I don't think they looked really active at all. Second half, especially with how they lead their attack down the wings, they always look like they know what they're doing in the final third, and that really brings a difference of players who can communicate with each other well as well. And if you can eliminate that time holding onto the ball, it's more likely you're going to be able to take a massive shot out with acres of space without losing the ball to an interception or to an opposing defender. So I do think there's something really, really good brewing from Middlesbrough at the moment. Southampton, they could say that they put in a bit of a performance against Liverpool. Ultimately, they lost out in the end. Bit of a brave performance on their part there. But I do think that can add to fatigue. So I do think Middlesbrough actually have a slight advantage here. But as a prediction, this is tough. I see this ending as a draw. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw here. Oh my goodness me. It wouldn't surprise me if Middlesbrough do pick up this win here. But I think, again, I'm just being really stubborn with my chances for Southampton. I feel like there has to be a little bit more going for them, especially at St Mary's as well. Yeah, I'll go for a draw. But yeah, certainly can't batch Southampton at the moment based on how they're playing in the Championship at least. Let me know what you think in the comments. Penultimate game sees Stoke going up against Norwich. Both teams with a defeat last time around, and both teams will be wanting to pick themselves up. Stoke lost out to Queen's Park Rangers. Weren't amazing in that game. In fact, Mark Robbins was very, very critical of his side. He has seen it many times before in Coventry, being quite critical on the team's performance, forcing a reaction. And I think he will be wanting that for Stoke against a Norwich side where right now, tough to put your finger on. At home, atrocious. Away from home, nearly faultless. So right now, this is such an interesting balance here. And it does suggest to me that Liam Manning knows how to get the best out of Norwich away from home. That makes Stoke's prospects of winning here a little bit more challenging. But personally, based on what I've seen defensively from Norwich, they could ship in up to 2 to 3 goals most games. Defensively against Wrexham, they were absolutely atrocious. I was so shocked with some of the defending that Norwich did. Now, if they get it right and defend really well like they did away from home against Coventry, it'll be tough for Stoke. However, I see Stoke getting the win here by 2-1. This will be Norwich's first away defeat. I just have a funny feeling that Stoke are more likely going to carve more chances and they'll take them. Let me know what you think in the comments. Last game to predict is Watford versus Hull. So with Watford, not a great start for them. 21st place in the table, only 1 win I believe picked up all season as well. I don't think they were bad against Millwall, but they just were very, very wasteful, and Millwall got the win in the end by an outstanding bit of quality. It does feel to me the squad depth is so strong for Watford, certainly in comparison to last season, and the quality there is exciting. But likewise, we said with many sides, Birmingham being an example, you've got lots of new players and they're just not clicking yet. You know, the system is not quite there for them to play at their best. And I think Watford will be a side that will improve going on to the season. But with how ruthless Pozzo is as an owner, you feel that if Watford still sit around this position in the table by the next international break, 3 game weeks time, it does feel to me that, you know, Pezzanano could be on borrowed time here. Hull certainly have had a bit of a tough start, but their results have started to improve. They had that draw against Swansea away from home, and then that was followed by an outstanding win against Southampton, beating them by 3-1, I think it was in the end. Yeah, because I think Southampton scored a late consolation. It could have been a clean sheet for Hull had they not conceded that chance right near the end of the game. So this game is tough. I could see this one screaming a draw, with Watford being a bit under par, Hull being a bit decent value for money in their recent performances. I've been really impressed with Ollie McBurney. I think he could be on the score sheet in this game here. But I mean, against Watford, I'm actually going to go for a draw again. 1-1 draw. I don't think I predicted, you know, that many draws actually. So I think this feels a little bit fair that I'll be predicting this last game also as a draw. So there you have it, guys. These are all my predictions for week 7 in the Championship. Do let me know in the comments down below what you think of my predictions, and do offer your predictions as well for the upcoming games as well. We are very, very lucky because after this game week, it's a midweek game, so it means that I'll be doing a video potentially on the Sunday to try and get more score predictions recorded and released on time, of course. And then it is next week where it's our last game week before the next international break. So hold on to your horses, guys. These next 3 game weeks are going to fly by before you know it. If you guys like what you see, please smash the like button. It really does help the growth of this channel. Please subscribe and share too. It really, really does help. That wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw any of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.